tonight on the Final Play. Joe Burrow cements his legacy as a legend at LSU as the Tigers exact their revenge on Texas A&M in historic fashion. We're recapping a big weekend of college football and checking in on the Saints, who got a big leg up in the NFC standings while sitting at home celebrating their division title. All of that, plus a trip to the hardwood where the Pelicans are looking to get a win streak going after falling short in Anthony Davis's first game back.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is The Final Play, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, built Ford tough, and by Ron Austin Law.
Welcome into The Final Play. I'm Juan Kincaid. Because they took care of business Thursday night in Atlanta, the Saints got a chance to scoreboard watch today, knowing that their first priority, winning the NFC South, has been accomplished. But there's so much more to reach for right now. Here's Sean Vazan.
3/4 of the Saints season are now complete, and the black and gold have already taken care of one major goal, an NFC South title clinched before the calendar even reached December.
It doesn't happen much before Thanksgiving. You know, this is what, our sixth now, third in a row. It's one of the goals, and you know, for it to happen on Thanksgiving, you know, this early, it's the first step. And you know, it's hard to win in this league. It's hard to win on the road in this league, and I'm proud of our guys, proud of Mrs. B, ownership, and you know, a lot of work goes into putting the right team together. You know, it's a challenging business.
Now the focus shifts to bigger goals and what will help and hurt their road to get there. On the positive side, the defensive line is playing as well as just about anyone. They're coming off their best effort of the season when they sacked Matt Ryan 9 times. Offensively, despite some crucial drops Thursday night, Jared Cook has shown he can be a big play target for Drew Brees. He had receptions of 16, 40, and 29 yards on Thursday. But on the flip side, the undisciplined play has become concerning. The Saints were hit with 9 penalties on Thursday for over 120 yards. It's the second straight week they were penalized that amount. They were able to overcome it against mediocre teams like the Falcons and the Panthers. The Saints are fully aware that's not a recipe for success with tougher teams on the horizon. With the Saints, I'm Sean Fazan for The Final Play.
Always nice to have with us Jeff Duncan from The Athletic and also a contributor here on Fox 8. Start with most recent today. Obviously, the Niners, they get beat by the Ravens, so it's 10-2 teams coming into the Dome next weekend. What concerns you the most as the Saints get ready to face San Francisco?
Well, the health of the Saints offensive line right now. They're banged up on the left side, and obviously San Francisco's defensive line is one of the best in the league. They're very physical up front. This will be the biggest challenge the Saints offensive line has had all season long, even if they were perfectly healthy. Yeah. They're not healthy. We don't know if Terron Armstead's going to be back. There is some hope that he will be back, and that would be a big boost for this line going into this game.
If you look at one of the important keys to that game against the Ravens, they ran it 38 times, 178 yards. So if you're Sean Payton and his coaching staff and they're watching that film, what's that telling them about how they can run the ball?
Well, I think we're going to see a lot of Taysom Hill in the read option look. Okay. We saw a lot more of it against Atlanta. Taysom Hill had a breakout game. I think they're going to throw that at San Francisco, see how they react. They did not defend it very well in the first half. They made some adjustments at halftime. They were a lot sounder in the second half, but it was also hard to get a read on that game with the bad weather and everything. So I don't know if we can quite look into that game and get a definitive scouting report on the Niners.
But will it also serve as a reminder to Sean Payton that he needs to find a way to use Latavius Murray a little bit more?
Yeah, I think so. I think you've got to get both those guys involved. Frankly, Alvin Kamara needs to get more involved. He's not had the impact this season that I think he hoped or the Saints hoped. I know he's been injured, but they've got to get that running game going because it sets up their play-action passing game. That's where they get those chunk plays you and I have talked about at length that's been missing from the offense all season long. They've got to get the running game going to set it up.
So when you go back to the Atlanta game Thursday night to get the win, that's the most important thing. But what's your biggest takeaway in the Atlanta game?
Well, I think the defense has really turned the corner. I think it's the strength of the team right now. It's the most consistent unit the Saints have. 9 sacks, tying a Saints record, forced 3 turnovers, really gave the offense short fields to work with. And I think, Juan, front to back, this is the most complete defense the Saints have had.
I think you're right. What's on your concern meter here and here, the penalties?
Yep.
I know Sean Payton always says it's something got to get cleaned up, but this is a bad habit that's just continuing. Here we are going into week 13, 14. I mean, it's a bad habit that's just continued. What can he do about that?
Well, they've got to get their technique down. Defensively especially, we've seen a lot of defensive holding, hands to the face. It's the same things over and over. These are technique issues. The Saints got to coach up this defense a little bit better. The pre-snap penalties haven't been as bad. That's something that the Saints have never really been that bad at this throughout the Sean Payton tenure. But they've got to get better technique. And Sean Payton has not blamed the officials, if you've noticed.
No, he hasn't.
Drew Brees hasn't either. I mean, they're taking ownership of this.
If you look at the offensive line and how they played against Atlanta, does that give you enough faith that maybe if Teron Armstead's not quite ready, they can still hold off another week? Or do they take a chance if he's 75% against the Niners coming in?
I think he's going to play this week. I mean, I saw him at the game on Thursday night in Atlanta. He was on the sidelines. That's a very good sign. Most of the time, players, when they're really seriously injured, especially with a lower leg injury, they don't travel. The fact that he was at the game, he's moving around, I think they're going to put him out there and trying to get the best they can out of him, because right now the offense, frankly, is limited without him. We saw how quick Drew Brees got rid of the ball. 2.3 seconds, the fastest he's delivered the ball all season long. That's to help out the left side of the line. They can't get away with that against San Francisco.
Do you buy the notion that they don't throw the deep ball enough in this offense?
Well, I think they call it. I just don't think they've connected on it. They've had a couple of chances the last few weeks. They had some chances, frankly, against Atlanta. We saw one go right off the fingertips of Jared Cook. Would have been a big chunk play. A long ball in the end zone that Teddy Ginn couldn't bring down. They're just not connecting for whatever reason, whether it's Drew's off on one throw, whether the receiver drops the ball. But they've got to get it going, and it gets back to that running game again, Juan, you brought up earlier. Saints play-action passing game has really been missing in action, and that's because the running game has to get going. They haven't got it going to that, I think, to suit what they want right now.
Is the team's killer mentality lacking?
No, I don't think so.
It seems like they took the foot off the pedal a little bit against Atlanta, and it's happened before this year.
Yeah, that's a good point, but I don't think so in Atlanta. I think it was just a flukish series of events. I've never seen anything like that sequence where they could not recover the onside kick. I guarantee you they're going to work on that all week. Darren Rizzi was getting an earful. He was getting chewed out pretty steadily by Sean Payton. Sean Payton said it was embarrassing, and it was. They would have closed that game out rather easily if they could have done that. So I don't think it's a killer instinct. I think this team really, is playing well in all phases except offensively in explosive plays.
All right, we'll leave it there with Jeff Duncan from The Athletic. Jeff, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Juan.
Still to come on The Final Play, a busy Saturday for college football, including the LSU Tigers finishing off the regular season 12-0 after whipping Texas A&M. We'll take a stroll into Tiger Stadium with Garland Gillen as he wraps up a magical night for LSU, and The Final Play continues.
The Catch of the Week, sponsored by the Coca-Cola Saints Cash Catch promotion with Rouse's Markets. Enter to win at rouses.com.
Our Fox 8 Catch of the Week takes us to LSU and the lethal combination of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. This 78-yard pitch and catch was part of the Tigers' first quarter 21-0 run out. Chase finished the day with 197 yards receiving and 2 scores, but that touchdown catch is our Catch of the Week. You know, a lot happened in Tiger Stadium last night. First and foremost, LSU finished the regular season with a perfect 12-0 record after a 43-point win against Texas A&M. Garland Gillen was there.
The Tigers' season finale was mainly about getting to 12-0 and dominating Texas A&M. That mission was no doubt accomplished. But it was also about the Tiger Stadium faithful saying goodbye to Joe Burrow. From pregame with his jersey modification to his 3 touchdown passes to one last trip over to the student section, the night belonged to the Heisman Trophy frontrunner.
Joe's meant a lot to Louisiana, and Louisiana is very proud of LSU football. But you know, people in Louisiana have heart, man. And when they love you, they love you. And they love Joe, and Joe loves them. So I think it was a combination of both. I think it's to show his appreciation for the state of Louisiana and LSU and what they've done for him, and more or less what he's done for us. The guy's been phenomenal.
It's been awesome not only for me, but for my family as well. You know, I told you guys earlier in the week, they come back and tell me stories about everyone just thanking them for sending me down here, and my whole family was like, well, thanks for resurrecting my career and everything you guys have done for me. So it's been a dream come true. It really has.
The Tiger defense was also a crowd pleaser. They absolutely stifled the Aggies and quieted the critics who thought LSU wasn't a complete team.
It was personal. I mean, Coach O, he kept preaching too much about not being into that, but there's so much you can block out. I mean, we take that personal. There's too many great guys on this defense and high caliber guys that's ranked in an elite level here. So to know that we know personally that we wasn't producing what we like to, but just be consistent disrespect throughout the season. We made sure it was personal. Just came to prove people wrong and prove to ourselves that we're the dominant defense we need to be.
Last season, the Tigers came up short of their goals. Those shortcomings have inspired the team to run the table in 2019.
Left a sour taste in our mouths, and we've had a lot of hardworking guys, mature guys in the offseason, just working towards this point. They knew the kind of talent we had, the kind of players and coaches that we had, and that's just kind of how we are. Don't be satisfied with 10-3, 9-4. Get to the top.
You know what? We ain't done yet. And the guys in there are happy. We're happy we beat Texas A&M. We're happy we beat 12-0. We're going to enjoy this 24 hours. We have a 24-hour rule. And then on to Georgia.
All right, we're now joined by Brody Miller of The Athletic. Talk about a revenge game. Goodness, they got revenge and then some. LSU plays a total team game, destroys A&M, giving up only 169 yards of offense to A&M.
I don't think, can you think of another game in LSU history where a team has been more determined to not just win but run up a score? You have the dramatics of last year's 7 overtime game. You have the College Football Playoff Committee dropping them down to 2 because they're not as dominant and complete as Ohio State. There was so much here where LSU couldn't just win this game. They had to dominate it. So to allow only 40 yards in the first half entirely, to just dominate the way they did, score 4 touchdowns on the first 4 drives, I mean, this was the kind of statement they needed where all parts of this football team looked complete. That's what they needed to show the committee.
Ogeron always talks about block out the noise, but I like K'Lavon Chase on during post. He didn't block out the noise. He said he heard all the stories about how the defense wasn't coming to play every single week. And wow, they showed that this defense is one of the better defenses in America now.
It's tricky, right? Because I think a lot of people are a little too hard on this defense because, how they look in a blowout against Ole Miss and they get sloppy, or maybe, play down to Vanderbilt, things like that. And you see some sloppy nights, but I think in the bigger stages, they've kind of made the stops when they need to. Do I think it's as good as some other top defenses in the country? No, I think it's in the top 25 or so, but I think it's, a solid defense.
Joe Burrow, this was his night also. I know the defense had a big night, but from the pregame with his jersey to tying an SC record for touchdown passes in a season to giving a bow to the student section after the game, what a fairy tale season for Joe Burrow.
Yeah, it really was that perfect kind of emotional day. I was actually kind of around the tailgates with his father Jimmy for a little bit, and it was just amazing watching him out. He was not left alone the entire day. Every second somebody was stopping him saying, "Can I take a picture?" Which just shows a small example of the way Louisiana is just kind of taking in the Burrow. So all those little things you mentioned. I mean, he started getting, maybe not choked up, but he was a little sincere and somber in his post-game press conference today, coming out, thanking the media for everything that we do for him. I think he's really making sure, he's not exactly an emotional guy, but he's somebody who I think realizes this is a cool moment. I'm going to take it in and I'm going to embrace it.
When the NCAA instituted this grad transfer rule, who knew that these kind of stories would come out? I mean, if you look back at what LSU a year ago had Justin McMillan and Miles Brennan and Lowell Narcisse, and then a grad transfer comes out of nowhere we barely knew, and then this, I mean, he even admitted during the post-game presser he didn't expect all this. A story that seemed like it could possibly maybe get it, last year 10-3 to this, to a possible national title. Joe Burrow just met the expectations and went even higher.
Yeah, there are going to be better LSU football players in history maybe, and there will be, some might be better quarterbacks in the SEC and whatnot, but I cannot think of any football player in LSU history that's as important as Joe Burrow is to the school, because he changed the culture here. He changed what they believed offense can do here. He take them to their first undefeated season in 8 years. He's just, it goes further than just playing good football, what he's done here. And I think Ed Ogeron's entire success would not be happening without Joe Burrow and vice versa. And that's what makes it maybe the best story in college football.
All right, looking forward. Next weekend, they will be in Georgia, Atlanta, to play the University of Georgia Bulldogs. What are you expecting from LSU going up against a top 5 team?
I think it's a really good Georgia team, but I think it's a team that LSU actually matches up with almost perfectly. Georgia's offense, not amazing, but what do they do well? They have a good power run game. LSU has its flaws on defense, but the one thing it's really good at is stopping a power run game and then manning up on the outside. They can do that. On the other side of the ball, Georgia has, you could argue, the best defense in the SEC. It's a great defense. Their strength, stuffing the run. They're fantastic in that front seven. Well, if you play that kind of football, if it's up to LSU, they won't run all game. They'll just they throw to set up the run. So I think if it's up to them, they'll just keep throwing. It's still a good Georgia secondary, but at least you can move the ball there. I like LSU in this matchup.
All right, that's Brody Miller from The Athletic. Thanks, bro.
Still to come on the final play, while Tulane's struggles continued as they wrapped up the regular season at SMU, our local Southland Conference teams, Nichols and Southeastern, continue their march to the FCS playoffs. We'll continue our ride through the boot for all the highlights next.
You're watching The Final Play.
Every game that Tulane's lost this season has been to a team with a winning record, which is a reminder to Green Wave fans that the losses they're suffering now are good for the program. It serves as a reminder of just how far this program has to go before it's amongst the elite in the American Athletic Conference. On Saturday, Tulane's problems of falling behind early continued as they were in a hole, 14-0 in the first quarter. Corey Dolphin's 35-yard touchdown run in the third got Tulane to within 4 points at 21-17, but the Mustangs found another gear late. Scoring 13 unanswered, they'd win it 37-20 to drop the Waves' record to 6-6. Now, they are bowl eligible, so now it's a wait and see on where they'll go. Now to the FCS playoffs. It was a great day for our two teams, Southeastern and Nichols. First, the Lions, who won a shootout against Villanova in Strawberry Stadium on Saturday. C.J. Turner hauled in this 8-yard touchdown pass from Chasen Virgil with just under 3 minutes left to play to give the 24th-ranked Lions a come-from-behind 45-44 win. Southeastern has 602 yards of total offense. They erased a 17-point halftime deficit on their way to their first postseason win since 2013. Now the Lions will visit 6th-ranked Montana in the second round of the playoffs on Saturday. Over at John L. Guidry Stadium in Thibodaux on Nichols campus, the Colonels ground and pounded North Dakota into submission in their 24-6 opening round win. The Colonels ran it for 316 yards, its second highest mark of the season, with Julian Gum spearheading the rushing attack with 172 yards on just 16 carries. With the win, Nichols will now face top-ranked North Dakota State. The Bison, who are 2-0 all-time against the Colonels, carry a 33-game win streak into the matchup. And over at the Dome last night, the 49th Annual Bayou Classic produced another classic. Southern's Ladarius Skelton threw a couple of touchdowns in the Jags' 30-28 win, but this game came down to a special teams play made on the game's final play. Grambling State lining up for the game-winning field goal at 5 seconds to go, and the Jags blocked Miguel Mendez's 40-yard attempt. The win sets up a rematch of the SWAC championship from a year ago, with the Jaguars heading to Alcorn State, hoping to avenge last year's loss to the Braves in the championship game. So next week's schedule looks like this. Southeastern heads to Missoula, Montana to take on Montana in the second round of the FCS playoffs. Nichols will play at top seed North Dakota State, and in Atlanta, the SEC championship game, LSU taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. Coming up, highlights of the Pelicans and Thunder from the SKC earlier today, and Chris Hagan has some perspective on Anthony Davis's return to the Crescent City.
Law.
Our play of the week comes from MAC 35's Stevelyn Williams, getting dragged down, breaks a tackle, and bursts in as the Ron Eagles beat Baker to advance to the 3A semifinals, keeping the season going. Here are our Player of the Week nominees. Leonard Kelly, Carr quarterback, threw 5 touchdown passes, also had 2 touchdown runs in their win. Christian Westcott, Lakeshore's quarterback, 5 TD throws, 3 touchdown runs, and we saw Williams just a second ago. Stevelyn Williams, MAC 35 running back, with 2 rushing touchdowns and an interception. Log in to fox8live.com/player to vote, which begins on Monday and ends on Wednesday. Over at the Smoothie King Center tonight, it was the same old from the Pelicans as they took on the OKC Thunder for the second time in as many days. Lonzo Ball hit this three-pointer with 5:15 to go in the fourth quarter, gave the Pelicans a 94-89 lead. But the Thunder went on a 12-0 run and outscored the Pels 18-10 the rest of the way. They win it again, 107-104. Finally tonight, the return of the Brow. Anthony Davis, now a Los Angeles Laker. He played his first game back in the Crescent City last week since being traded. And Chris Hagan was there to take it all in.
Happy Thanksgiving, go Pels.
It was the game that the Pelicans and their fans had circled on the schedule. Anthony Davis's return trip to the Smoothie King Center to face his former team.
From my perspective, everybody in the world, that's all they wanted. A game like that, two good teams going at it. Obviously, I won't say, tension, but it's, what everybody wanted to see. And it was fun. It was fun to me.
And while it didn't disappoint from an entertainment standpoint, the final result, a close Lakers win, was par for the course for Alvin Gentry's team that still hasn't learned how to close out games, unlike the Lakers, who looked in their element during the game's pivotal moments.
AD didn't do anything that we hadn't already seen for the last several years. So, he's a great player. It's a tough matchup for anyone. And then when you have LeBron out on the floor with you, it becomes a real difficult matchup.
And in the fourth quarter, we just decided to play a little bit of defense and was able to get some big-time stops. Kuz made some big-time threes. Brown made some big-time plays down the end and was able to come out with the win.
But even on a night full of plenty of emotion from Pelicans fans before, during, and some after the game, it was very clear that when Anthony Davis left the floor, he still has plenty of love for this building, his former team, and especially his former teammates.
Like I said, everybody think it's, I got a vendetta against New Orleans or something like that. Me and everybody is cool. Me and David Griffin dabbed up twice. I have no ill will toward anybody. I'm in a happy place. They're in a happy place, and we just here to play basketball.
AD can breathe a sigh of relief after winning the first matchup between these two. And why shouldn't he? The victory over the Pelicans was the Lakers' 9th straight. Clearly, the trade is working out on that side. But for the Pelicans, while there have been some positives, the way they continue to limp through the first half of the season, it begs the question, with all of this talent, what's the issue? Sure, injuries have played a role, but it's something that the Pelicans front office, unfortunately, has to be asking themselves more and more. Reporting at the Smoothie King Center, I'm Chris Hagan for the Final Play.
And that's our show for tonight. For all of us here at Fox 8, I'm Juan Kincaid. We hope you'll join us again next Sunday night for the Final Play.
From Fox 8 Sports, this has been the Final Play. Sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, built Ford tough. And by Ron Austin Law.